Welcome to Being at Home with George. Today being Independence Day and really thinking about this idea of creating the possibility to embrace whatever comes up, good, bad, indifferent, good, bad, the ugly, and at the same time generating the hope. And that the hope is that we take the time, at least I'm taking the time to reflect on what Independence Day means for us as a nation, for us as a global community, but collectively, and also what does Independence Day mean for us individually as individual selves. And I would say that the group or the country is going to be a reflection of the individual selves or the global community. And so the idea is just to reflect on, what does it mean? Am I free? Am I exercising my independence? And I would say that we tend to be creatures of habit. And I'll talk about myself where there's certain habits of behavior. Some people might even call them addictions, but there's ways of thinking and seeing things in habitual ways and the automatic pilot ways. And when I think about independence and the idea of creating space between stimulus and response, and we have the freedom and power to choose, but are we choosing based on shoulds, or are we choosing based on what the current information is, based on what the internal landscape is saying in terms of what my heart is telling me or what I'm interested in, or am I just choosing because it's a habit to do things? So I think of freedom as this idea of being spontaneous or doing things of one's free will or one's own will. And I talk about a lot being in flow, being in the zone. That is nothing more than spontaneity. That's nothing more than just seeing things in a way and then responding to them in real time in a way that's based on self expression, based on what I'm feeling inside, based on what my values are, based on what my aim happens to be in that particular time. And I've experienced this, especially coming up on 37 years of sobriety, where there was a period of time that these bad habits and these fixed ways of being and seeing and thinking were preventing me from being able to be free and to make the choice to do things that led more to freedom and more to what we call life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so, even though when I think about freedom, I think about and I like to use this idea of smoking and secondhand smoke. There's a kind of freedom that's just negative freedom and positive freedom. I would say negative freedom would be I have the right to smoke. It's an individual liberty I have. But if I go into a crowd of people and I smoke, that is not so helpful because now those people, I'm affecting their liberty, their right to breathe and actually to live, because we know secondhand smoke is very damaging. Now, if I go across the street to some place where I'm smoking on my own and people come in and they gather around me, then they're making a choice to be around to smoke rather than me making a choice for them. And so I honor people's right to smoke or to drink or do whatever they need to do. But I think because we're in a community, it's helpful if we distinguish between negative freedom and positive freedom, and whether we distinguish between shoulds and oughts to what our heart tells us we want to do, especially when it's a positive thing where how can I express myself in a way that doesn't infringe on other people's freedom and that sort of thing. But it's an inside job. And I know for me, I have these habits of mine and these thoughts and addictions that I had to say, okay, I don't have a choice there. That something's happening without my being able to create a space between stimulus and response. When there's no space, there's no freedom. There's no exercise of independence or no way to be spontaneous because it's already fixed. But if I can be still and know and create a process that we've been talking about all these months about creating space between stimulus and response and focus on being instead of doing, so that the doing comes out of the being. And it's a great time to say, how am I free with work, love, and play? Where am I doing the shoulds or the oughts versus me just being a free will, doing something because I want to do it, because it feels good and it's my intention versus something that I have to do or I feel obligated to do. So we have many things that we are engaged in where we can reflect and say, okay, this is Independence Day. How independent am I? How much freedom do I have? And then recognizing, we're talking about this a lot. Freedom is another word Kierkegaard calls it possibility. So to the degree that there's possibility, to the degree that I am changing my thoughts or changing my routines or habits, it's going to generate anxiety or uncertainty and discomfort. And if I can just work through that discomfort, then I'll get stronger. But it's a matter of, yeah, it's just natural that one side of the coin is possibility, the other side is anxiety. And to the degree that I can walk through it, I can use my free will choice to say, okay, in that space, there's anxiety. Can I look at it and see it as a proverbial roadblock that I can transform into a stepping stone?